Angelica and Junia. They are such a gift to us as a Brook family, and it's been fun for us to be able to see their journey of course, before they even were called to West Palm Beach to where they're at today. And that's really exciting for us. And I know it's an honor for us to just be able to support you guys, pray for you guys. And as we're thinking about even this opportunity for us to talk and have this conversation, in the book of Mark chapter 6, Jesus sends out his disciples into different towns, 2 by 2. And we were talking about this, Pastor Jeremy and I, and just really thinking through the ways that God always sends people out together. And, the Christian faith and the work of church planting is not something we are to do in isolation, and we are to do it with other people. And it's pretty cool because, like Pastor Jeremy and I, we built a friendship as we were part of our former church before God had called us to plant the Brook. And in many ways, he sent a small team, but a team nonetheless, to the Montclair neighborhood to plant this church. And as we built our relationship together, God was still doing this work of sending out people in teams to spread the gospel. And so it's really exciting for me to see how we went from these different locations, but God is causing the gospel to spread through us. So Jeremy, it's really cool. It's such an honor to see that. I want to just have this conversation about the ways that God has confirmed this call for you guys to enter into this idea of church planting in West Palm Beach, Florida, of all places, because it's been a journey. And so I just want to know, how has God confirmed this call for you guys to be sent out to as a team to start a church in a new work in a place where you guys weren't living at the time? And how did God, just prepare you guys while you're here in Chicago, confirm you in Chicago, and how is he doing that in West Palm Beach?
Yeah, so I would say 4 ways. So one is prayer. We got to pray. And prayer is not just us talking to God, but it's also listening to the Lord and how the Lord just puts his word on our hearts and applies it to our situations. The second thing is desire. I think the Lord puts desires in our hearts. And then there's affirmation of other people who are godly. You don't want just somebody who, reads the stars telling you what you should do. I think we want people with a biblical worldview that love the Lord, speaking into whatever decision you're going to make. And then opportunity. I think if those things are there, it's probably not a bad decision. I think that's what happened with us. For me, I was praying one day, and in this it was like a convent here in Oak Lawn. I was praying one day. It was I don't know why it was a convent. It's just the only place they had vacancy. But I was praying, and I just sensed the Lord. It wasn't like an audible voice or anything. The Lord just said, "Hey, start preparing to go back to Florida to plant the church." I didn't want to do that. I always saw myself staying in Chicago. That was my plan. Fast forward, me and Angelica got married. She wasn't necessarily sold on going to Florida right away, but we just prayed for about a year and a half. And then the Lord, without me trying to force her, confirmed it to her. And so now with that prayer, we had that desire to just say, Lord, we're here. Our life is yours. You purchased us when you sent your son to die on a cross. So we just want to do your will. And then we brought it to our friends, to our leaders here at the Brook, and they affirmed that. The Brook, as you know, already had this edge and this desire to church plant. I think the Brook always started being Chicago.
Yeah.
But as we prayed, I feel like it was for a while. Yeah. And trying to discern, the Lord just confirmed that. And out of those prayers, and I think prayer is really the thrust in all of this, we had an opportunity. And for us, the opportunity was literally finding housing. We could not find housing in West Palm. So we're like, man, people are affirming this. We desire to do this. We know this is God because it didn't initially come from us. But as we were praying and all these things were happening, we said, okay, Lord, please confirm this by giving us housing. And on one of our vision trips, when we were still living here, went to Florida, and we said, Lord, if you give us housing, we'll just take that as all right, you're calling us here. Literally, we were there for like a week. We could not find housing. And on our way to the airport, in God's providence, I ran into our now landlord. He was fixing up an apartment. He just so happened to be there. He doesn't even live in Florida, but he just so happened to be there. And I was just like, hey, I gotta go catch a flight. Are you renting this? And he's like, yes. And I'm like, could we rent this? And he's like, yes. I'm like, I'm going to Chicago. Can we talk? You know, when I get there, he's like, yes. And then the rest was history. So all I have to say is we just took that as an affirmation from the Lord, like, God, you're calling us to be here alongside other opportunities. So that was kind of the thrust.
That's pretty remarkable. Just the way that God answers those kind of prayers. And a lot of times we just step out. We're like, God, I want you to lead. Like, I want to know that we're hearing you. And yet, it's a scary faith journey. Yeah. And so even as you guys were in Chicago, discerning this, like, I remember the night that you and Angelica came to our house, kind of shared with us that this is what you guys were planning on doing. Like, we really feel called to Florida, and we were like, we saw it coming, but at the same time, we're like, man, like, all right, this is a big deal for us as a church, because both of you are an integral part of our church here at the Brook. But again, we want to be kingdom minded and saying, Lord, if you're doing something, we don't want to get in the way. So seeing God answer prayer like that in such a tangible way is extremely exciting. And it's very affirming to us. But here's the thing. So, like, you guys, the God opened his door for an apartment. You're here in Chicago nonetheless, trying to craft vision, trying to craft a plan. We know God raised up a guy here at the Brook named Mario, who went with you guys to West Palm, which is very exciting as well. But at the end of the day, when you guys stepped foot in West Palm Beach, like, it was just the three of you.
Yeah.
How has God, since that time you guys got off the plane, confirmed to you that indeed he wants you there? Because it's one thing to say, okay, I feel like God is leading us. It's another thing to say, oh, these are some cool open doors. But now that's home. Like, you're living there. Like, how's the Lord confirmed that that's where he wants you guys?
Yeah, man, it's hard for me not to choke up, but I'm gonna try to keep it together. I think the way that God has confirmed that since being there has been through gospel opportunities, literally. And usually it's weird. It usually happens at the most unexpected moment. So I just give just a brief story. One day we planned this interest meeting for the community. We had like 100 Chick-fil-A sandwiches donated. I mean, it was going to be an amazing event. The day of the event, it's like 6:30, nobody's there. And I'm literally in the corner of the building where we're at. And I'm like asking God, like, God, please bring somebody to this event, please. And in the middle of that, I hear my dad. My dad was there. He was just there supporting me. He's like, yo, Jeremy. So not my heavenly father, but my biological father. He was like, yo, where's the chicken at? And I'm like, I don't know. He's like, yo, I'm gonna go to the street. And I told the Lord in my own heart, I'm like, Lord, I'll do anything, but I don't want to knock on doors and, like, I don't know, like, seem like I'm, like, trying to proselytize people. Yeah. Guess what I was doing that night? So, because I was like, I can't leave my dad alone. So literally a whole gang of us, I actually had one of my cousins who just came for support. He had the Chick-fil-A bag that they have, a delivery bag? Yeah. He had it on his head. I don't know why he had it on his head, but he's walking through the hood, like walking through alleys, passing out chicken, and it just turned into an opportunity to share the gospel. Wow. Where am I going with that? That day, there was somebody that we had been trying to be in contact with that had just ghosted us. I actually didn't know this person, but my wife was trying to contact this person and minister. And that day, in front of this building, she just so happened to be there. I didn't even know who she was. I didn't know what she looked like. All I knew was her name. And as soon as she told me her name, I was like, yo, do you know? She's like, I do. And she just starts bawling. And I can't say her full story because we're recording, but the point is, that day I got to share with her and I said, God hasn't forgotten you. I had no intention of being here. but God has not forgotten you. God is here. And I just got to share Christ with her that day. And she was just like, wow, like, this is a God thing. Like, I would have never guessed that you guys would be here. So that's just one story. There's like multiple little stories like that where we're just like praying, and then God just puts us in the right place, right time to just be like, go share the gospel.
Man, like, yeah, when you're in the middle of those kind of moments, does it hit you like, man, if we didn't come here, like, where would these people be? Like, you know, we know God is sovereign, like he's in control of everything, but like, is there that sense of like, man, God, if you didn't send us, if we resisted your call, these people would be really lost, right? Or they'd be on a path to destruction, or is there a sense of like, wow, but here we are and you're doing it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, what encouraged me so much about that video was, you see the guy with the black hoodie? He literally said that. Wow. He said, man, like, I just never seen this done before. I'm just glad that you guys are here. He said something to that effect. Yeah. So yeah, I would say that has been like a crazy affirmation that, yeah, like, if we had not been here, who knows what could have happened to that young lady, or who knows? I mean, there's other things that have happened that we're just like, who knows what would have happened if we weren't there? Not because we're like some saviors or anything, right, but it's literally God like prompting us to do things that like are uncomfortable many times. Yeah. But then God just works it out. You're just like, yo, what? That's a God thing. Yeah.
Well, the reason I asked that is because, like, as a Brook family, I mean, sending you guys out was a tremendous cost. I'm not talking financial. It was a cost upon us. Like, we first of all, there's a relational investment. Like, we love you guys. You guys are part of our family. The Brooks DNA, so much of the Brooks DNA it has been formed by Jeremy and Angelica, and so we know this. And so when we knew that God was calling you all out, like Lord, there's a cost here for us, and it's not just us wanting to hoard gifted people, but like these are folks that we love, that you're using. I mean, even in this room, there are people here at the Brook right now that their primary connection at the church is not me or my wife, is you guys, and yet, you know, like, it was a cost. And I remember us, like, we would often share with you guys, church family, like, we do this because we know God is calling us to, but also we realize, like, there are people in West Palm Beach that Jesus loves, that he shed his blood for, and the Lord wants to reach them. And he's called us to sacrifice something very valuable to us in order for us to reap an eternal treasure, and as the salvation of people. And so, like, when I think about this sacrifice, like, church family, like, this thank you video we just saw, like, that's like God answering the prayers that we prayed for years. Like those are some of the faces of people that God said, I wanted to reach that person, but I'm going to send this couple, and I need you all to support and come alongside of them. And so, like, even for us to see that is affirming that you know, that God is in this, you know, because as scary as it was for you guys to go, it's scary for us to send you all. And you know, like, I was calling all the landlords out there, like, telling them your apartment's not available. And there's that one person I missed, you know, and he's the guy you talked to.
Really, yeah.
No, but for real, kind of like, Lord, like, close that door if you don't want him there. And there he is opening it, and he did it, man.
And I would even add, not being in close proximity to you all was and is a cost that we don't take lightly. Mm-hmm. When we first were on our way, we had about 5 families they were like, yo, we're gonna be part of the Light. As soon as we touched down, almost all of them dropped out. And just the loneliness of just doing God's will immediately set in. And we realized then, like, yo, we're really coming from not just a church community. We're really missing out on our family here at the Brook, the church at large in Chicago. Like, we just have so many friends and people that we consider family. So it was and is a cost, and we're still bearing that. It is a cross that we bear every day.
Yeah. Well, we're grateful you guys are carrying it, and you guys are carrying it with so much grace and courage, for real. And we see that, and that's why I said it's an honor for us to support you guys and pray for you guys and come alongside of you. It really is. So you all been on the ground for 17 months already. That's crazy. 17 months. And so I want to ask, what are you guys dreaming about for the next 8, 10, 12 months? Like, what are the things that just like the fires that are burning within? You're like, man, this is something we're longing for, we're dreaming for, we're praying for us we want to come alongside of you all in that. So what is it that you guys just really dreaming about for the next year?
Yeah. So what we're really dreaming about is launching our official church service. By God's grace and hopefully God's will, we'll do that in September. So we've done some pilot stuff. So just we started gathering on Sundays, just because the people that we were gathering with were like, we're a church, how come we don't gather on Sunday? And I was like, that's a good question. Maybe we should do that. And we just tried different things out. And now that we actually have like a core team, and maybe some people that were part of the Light or the Brook in the beginning, you know what that's like. You're just like, okay, we got a little team. Let's work the ground a little bit. That's where we're at. Where now everybody's like, all right, let's go out on the block. Let's continue to evangelize together as a unit, and let's prepare to launch a service. And then I think in addition to that, our community is very bilingual. People speak to you in bilingual. It's almost crazy. So another dream that we have is for God to bring, this is what I'm praying specifically, God, bring us a Spanish-speaking couple that loves the light and could just rock with us till we launch, so that they could start a Bible study in Spanish. That's a huge dream for us. So.
Wow, that's remarkable. So the timeline is there. That's something to be praying for. I want to highlight just something you said, which I think is really important. You said September is when you hope to start a church services. And how you said people were saying, hey, we're a church, why don't we meet on Sunday? And we talk about this always at the Brook, but like let's not forget, let's remember our ecclesiology here, right? The church is the people. And I love how you highlighted starting a church service, not starting the church is already being built up. God's already bringing the people, the church, the people, but it's the service you guys want to in order to have a wider influence. What are some kind of maybe some barriers, some roadblocks that you're like, okay, there's some things that we anticipate being some challenges in front of us as we think about these dreams of ours in terms of a desire for a Spanish-speaking couple who is down with the vision of the light, and even the work of prayerfully launching in this fall. What are some potential roadblocks you guys anticipate?
So I think honestly, me and my wife often talk about this. Sometimes our youth-looking self, and I'm 34 years old. I don't think I'm like the youngest guy, but I think it's almost comical now, because some people in the community are like, "You're a pastor. You're like so young. Like, what do you know about life?" I'm like, I just know about Jesus at the very least. So I think that trying to make sure that Jesus is at the forefront as we attempt to walk with people, not like our charisma, not our youth, not our deficiencies, like just keeping Jesus at the forefront as we do the work of knowing people, of getting to know our neighbors. We're just praying that the Lord would take the focus away from us, whether that be for negative reasons or positive reasons, and put the focus on Him. And then I think maybe more mechanically speaking, I think for us, we're really trying to discern what that bilingual dynamic looks like. So we're like, okay, we're doing everything in English, but then there's such a great need of Spanish speakers in our community, and they're usually intermingled, right? So like, if your parents speak Spanish and you speak English, primarily, like, but the Lord is doing something in the family, and naturally you want the whole family to come with you to church services or outreaches. So we're just trying to logistically know what does that look like for us? How do we journey with people? How do we disciple people in that bilingual kind of dance?
Wow. Sounds like you guys need wisdom.
We need a lot of wisdom.
A lot of wisdom and a lot of provision from the Lord. It's always inspiring to hear what God is doing. It's always really invigorating to think about the work He's doing. And church family, we just want to continue to urge you to keep praying for the Barraonas. Don't let the physical distance cause us to become distant in our prayers for Jeremy, Angelica, Junia, and the Light. And let's keep supporting them. Let's keep funding financially this work as well, because in some ways, like the grind has just begun, even though you've been at it for 17 months. Like now things are really starting to pick up some steam, and we just don't want finances to ever feel like it's a hindrance. Like you got to scale back because you haven't got the funding. And so let's be generous. Let's pray for generosity and for more donors. But let's keep praying for you guys. I mean, we look forward to hearing continued testimonies, continued stories, new faces of people who've been reached by you all and your team. But we're really excited about it, and we trust God to build His kingdom. Jesus promises to do it. His gospel is potent, and so we're excited to hear how God's going to use you guys to advance it.
Yeah, if I could ask you a question, what has it been like for you as a lead pastor of the Brook, with this vision which is really God's vision, to be a church planting church? What has that been like for you as a pastor and maybe as a representation of the Brook to send out people since you've done it?
Yeah. Well, I think, like, for one thing, like, God's timing is just so much different than our own, because the timeline did not happen the way any of us anticipated. We thought we'd launch the Brook. 5 years later, we launched a church, and then 2 years after that, another one, and we're realizing this actually takes long. It takes a real long time, and so that's a good thing, because we're not looking for just these instant results, these microwave kind of things. We want genuine fruit, and so for us, it's just like this is taking longer than we expected. But on the flip side, it's been very rewarding for us, because as painful as it was, as we mentioned, and costly for us to send you all out, it created voids, it created space, and ultimately it created opportunity. And something that's been special for us as a church to see is people step up and fill in places. People who are exercising their gifts, who realize, okay, like this is an opportunity for me to serve the Lord where there's need, and even for our youth to do that. So to me, that's something that I really cherish, because it reminds me that no matter how much we invest, God will always supply over and beyond what we've gave out. And so that should cause us to continue to be generous, even though generosity is scary. Yeah. But to still trust God to provide. And so that's something that's just really, I think, really blessed us to see. But again, there's an emotional aspect that we do, still feel that, like the pain of, okay, we sent out. But I mean, I praise God for technology and the ability to keep up and connect like we do. And so it's all for the kingdom, and we just need to have that kingdom mindedness, because this earth will pass away. What does Moses say in the Psalms? 90 years maybe, and then we're gone. And let's labor for something that goes beyond those 90 years. So I think that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I think that's so special. Like, I think that's special because not every church leader or not every pastor has that kind of biblical mentality that we all should have. But that's surely the pattern of the scriptures. The pattern of the king. The pattern of the kingdom is to deny self, take up your cross, and follow Jesus. But the beautiful thing about that, even though that that has an element of pain and denial is not easy. I think the good part about that is that God really does supply everything that you need personally, relationally, collectively as a church. God really does supply for His will. And if there's one thing that I think we've all learned when we first planted the Brook, the Light, was that God is way more interested in His kingdom priorities than our personal preferences.
Yeah.
And God will always come through when you prioritize His kingdom. And into the world that might not look sexy, like you might not be living in a high-rise in Lincoln Park. If you do, praise God, do it to the glory of God. Invest in the Light in the Brook financially. But nevertheless, we have something that's so much greater that this world can never even fathom apart from Christ.
Well, you're going to preach now.
We have an eternity with Christ that supersedes anything we could ever go through in this life. And I just wanted to say that because I've been so encouraged when I have the opportunity to just talk to people from the Brook or just check up on how the church is doing, just to see how God has watered the seeds that were planted years ago that we were praying for. Like, man, there's things that I prayed for that I'm like, man, I never saw it while I was here at the Brook. But then I call E or I call Alberto or Eddie, and it's like, yo, this person, they're like growing in the, I'm like, what? That's crazy, you know? And it's just the way that God works. So your work is not in vain either. So yeah. So can we clap it up for Pastor Eric one time?